Now, about that hidden garden and ice cream, Caden began, his eyes twinkling with mischief. I know a place. Scene 85, Plans for Tomorrow. The grand estate buzzed softly under the weight of summer twilight, the air thick with the sweet fragrance of blooming jasmine that clung to the wrought iron gates. Flickering lanterns cast soft, golden pools of light that spilled like secrets across the manicured gardens. Kaden Onyx leaned against the stone balustrade of the terrace, the faint thrum of laughter and conversation echoing from the gala within. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the promise of rich connections and hidden agendas. Yet in that moment, his world narrowed, centered solely on Nova Leclair, who stood by a nearby rosebush, half hidden in its shadow. Caden's gaze traveled over her figure, the way her vibrant red dress hugged her curves, then fell in gentle waves to the ground. Each movement she made seemed to cause the edges of her fabric to dance, just as it stirred something deep within him, a longing, a promise. He swallowed hard, his jaw tightening, wrestling with the weight of truths unspoken. He could almost hear his heart pounding in rhythm with the distant music, desperate to bridge the chasm between them. Are you going to join the party, or do you need an invitation? Nova teased, a playful smile illuminating her face, yet there was a glimmer of apprehension behind her eyes. I could use an excuse to stay here, Caden replied, stepping closer, the gravel crunching under his polished shoes. The space between them crackled with unarticulated desire, thick and palpable. Besides, I was hoping to talk to you about, well, tomorrow. Her eyes brightened, yet Caden could see the shadows flickering at the edges of her smile. Where are we running off to, then? She asked, tilting her head, curiosity sparkling in her gaze. He hesitated, the moments stretched between them like the taut strings of a finely tuned instrument. Not running, he said, taking a deep breath as he leaned in slightly, his voice an intimate whisper amidst the evening's chatter. I want to build something, Nova, with you, together. A soft laughter caught in her throat as she processed his words. Build, as in a Lego project? She quipped, her humor a fragile shield against the vulnerability that was beginning to pull at her. Caden chuckled, the sound warm and genuine, lighting a flicker of hope within the tense confines of his heart. More like a future, with plans, adventures, maybe even risks. I can't promise they'll always be safe, but I can promise they'll be ours. Nova's playful demeanor faltered only slightly. You do know I'm not great with plans, Caden. I'm more of an impulse decisions kind of girl, she admitted, biting the inside of her cheek. Just think of the possibilities, he urged, his voice growing firmer as he stepped even closer, his breath stirring the strands of her hair. I want to see you thrive, to hear your laughter, to fight for what makes us, us. For a fleeting moment, he caught the glistening edges of fear shimmering in her eyes. Caden noticed her fingers absent-mindedly twisting the delicate chain around her neck, an unconscious reminder of the weight they both bore. The past loomed large between them, filled with regrets, hidden identities, and tangled familial ties. But tonight, beneath the canopy of stars and whispers, hope fluttered like the wings of a nightingale. I want that too, Nova confessed softly, her voice barely above a whisper, yet imbued with sincerity. But what if? What if it's all too much? Nothing is too much when it comes to us, Caden murmured, his hand reaching tentatively to brush against her arm, a simple touch igniting the atmosphere between them. I know your fears, your challenges, but they don't define who we can be together. Her breath hitched, caught somewhere between worry and longing. You make it sound so easy. She looked away, gazing at the horizon where the fading light brushed against the earth, making the night sky blush with possibility. Let me show you, Caden said, his voice smoother now, laced with a promise. Tomorrow is just the beginning if you're willing to take that leap with me. Silence enveloped them, an unspoken acknowledgement lingering like a breathless pause. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, and Caden felt a flicker of something igniting, a shared understanding teetering on the edge of something more palpable. All right, she finally breathed, a smile breaking the tension, bright and sincere. Let's make a plan for tomorrow. But if it goes sideways, you owe me ice cream. Deal, Caden replied, his lips curving into a grin, relief washing over him. He stepped back slightly, their space bridging with an unfamiliar warmth, pulse quickening as they faced the night together. The world around them blurred into the background as they shared this moment, a harmony of newfound clarity, trembling anticipation, and the thrill of uncharted paths intertwining. Scene 86, A Love Reforged. The grand banquet hall was alive with light, crystals dangling from chandeliers like frozen raindrops, each twinkling reflection clashing with the encasing darkness outside. Kaden stood near a gilded pillar, his gaze flickering towards the window, where the soft patter of rain created a gentle rhythm against the glass. He could feel the weight of the evening like the oppressive heat before a storm, as if every droplet held secrets of its own, echoing the turmoil in his heart. Nova entered from the corner of his eye, her silhouette draped in a deep emerald gown that flattered her form in ways that made his breath hitch. The fabric shimmered with her every movement, almost ethereal, yet the uncertainty in her posture grounded him. This was no fairy tale. This was a dance on a razor's edge. "Let's go outside," she said, her voice melodic yet edged with a brittle tension, clenching the folds of the dress at her side, making her knuckles white. Kaden turned slowly, the weight of his hidden past heavy in his chest. "You sure? It's pouring out there." "Listen, we've danced around this long enough," she replied, taking a courageous step closer. The air between them crackled, a concoction of longing and fear. "We can't escape the truth forever, Kaden." His jaw clenched, the familiar tension in his shoulders rising. The unspoken words hung between them like a taut wire, ready to snap, tethering them to a past they both desperately wanted to redefine. "What truth are we talking about? The one where you wear your sister's identity like a costume, or the one where I'm a father?" She hesitated, her brown eyes searching his as if they could decipher the turmoil within. "Both, maybe, but we can't let that define us. Let's build something real together." Kaden found himself captivated by her honesty, the softness in her voice juxtaposing the steel in her spine. He pushed back against the weight of his dark secret. "How can you trust me? After everything?" Before he could finish, a flicker of defiance sparked in her gaze. "Because I want to. I want to believe that love can change things, that we can change things." The rain became a curtain around them as she stepped nearer, brushing her fingertips along his arm, a fleeting touch, yet it sent electricity through him. Her warmth penetrated the uneven path he'd carved for himself, making him reconsider the barriers he'd erected around his heart. "Did you ever think about what we could have?" she whispered, their faces inches apart, the dance of shadows in the hall behind them fading to nothing. "Every second of every day," he admitted, his breath warm against her skin. "But what kind of future can I offer with my past looming over us? What if?" "No what ifs." The firmness in her voice made the air shift, bringing clarity where uncertainty once reigned. "What if we start right now? No more lies." The sincerity in her plea melted the ice he'd kept around his heart. Kaden brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, a tender motion electrified by his own hesitation. "I don't know if I'm worthy of a second chance." "People don't get to decide that for you, Kaden." She stepped forward, melding space until their bodies nearly touched. "You're more than your secrets." In that moment, the tempest outside paled in comparison to the storm brewing between them. He could feel the pulse of desire thrumming in his veins as she looked up at him, her breath mingling with his, echoing the possibility of transformation. "Can we truly rebuild?" he murmured, caught in the intensity of her gaze, his pulse racing with an anticipation he hadn't expected to feel. "As long as it's together." Her voice lingered like a warm embrace, wrapping around him as he leaned in, drawn to her like a moth to flame. Kaden closed the distance, their lips brushing softly, igniting a fire that had long simmered beneath the surface. It was tentative at first, exploring the contours of something unsaid, before their passion unleashed itself fully, a collision of heart and soul. In that heated moment, with raindrops tracing patterns on the glass and whispers of longing filling the air, they forged something new, an intricate tapestry of love woven through pain, hope, and the promise of a shared future, reclaiming the identities they had nearly lost. And as they pulled away, breathless and entwined in a newfound awareness, Kaden whispered, "Let's rebuild together." Scene 87, Resurfacing Enemies. The ballroom thrummed with an electric tension, the sharp scent of polished mahogany mingling with opulent floral arrangements. Kaden Onyx stood on the edge of a glittering dance floor, vivid blue surrounded by gleaming gold plates and rich crimson fabric. The elaborate arrangements of the gala masked the sense of foreboding gnawing in his gut. Each laughter that erupted from elegantly clothed couples rang like distant thunder, warning of an impending storm. He sighed, trying to shake the nagging thoughts of the past that clung to him like an unshakable ghost. In the middle of spinning beauty, there was no room for his buried secrets. His son, the mother, Nova. If they only knew. A soft brush against his forearm pulled him from his reverie. Nova Leclair stood beside him, her striking emerald gown hugging her body like a second skin, bathed in the glow of the chandeliers above. She looked radiant, her curls cascading over her shoulders, yet something flickered in her deep brown eyes, an unspoken concern that matched his own. "Do you feel it?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper above the mingling crowd. "Like something's lurking just beyond the candles?" He nodded solemnly. "Like the calm before a tempest." Before they could tether their thoughts in the moment, the grand double doors burst open, shattering the relative tranquility. The air turned frigid as a familiar figure stepped into the light. Tariq Fontaine, Caden's childhood rival, with a smile that promised chaos. His tailored suit radiated arrogance, and surrounded by a cadre of equally imposing figures, he surveyed the gala like a predator eyeing its prey. "Look who decided to crash the party," Nova murmured, her eyes darkening with concern. Kaden clenched his fists, feeling the warmth of the room evaporating as he readied himself. Tariq's reputation for stirring trouble was well known, and Kaden had a mountain of unresolved tension with him. Without taking his eyes off the intruders, he replied, "Let me handle this." "Together," Nova insisted, her grip on his arm tightening. "If we're going to face them, we do it side by side." The silence that followed was a challenge wrapped in tension, and Kaden appreciated her resolve. He took the lead, but as they approached, the atmosphere fell into a thick murmur, the kind that signaled trouble. "Ah, the lovebirds are in attendance," Tariq called out, his tone laced with mockery. "All decked out, gorgeous as ever, Nova. Tell me, is romance really worth the havoc it brings?" He moved closer, reveling in the attention. "And Kaden, still playing the knight in shining armor, I see. Have you found a way to hide your skeletons, or are they still dancing alongside you?" Emotion sparked in Caden's chest, igniting a fury he couldn't suppress. "Back off, Tariq. This isn't the place." "True," Tariq sneered, his smirk widening. "But there's something almost poetic about secrets coming to light at a festive gathering like this." Without warning, he lunged forward, a sharp thrust aimed at Caden's jaw. The room erupted, silks rustled, gasps filled the air as couples scattered. Kaden dodged, the adrenaline fueling his instincts, and countered with a solid punch, the satisfying thud echoing within him. Their skirmish drew gasps and attention from around the hall, but Kaden didn't care. He bore the weight of love and secrets, and he was ready to defend them fiercely. Nova's voice cut through the noise. "Stop it! This isn't just about you two. It's about all of us." Her fierce tone shocked both men into momentary stillness. Kaden turned to Nova, his heart racing, tinged with admiration. She was his anchor. "Get to safety," he urged, his eyes warming as they locked in unison. "Not without you." The passion in her voice wrapped around him, lending strength he desperately needed. They stepped together, an unbreakable unit amidst the chaos. But Tariq, recoiling momentarily, didn't miss a beat. "This isn't over, Kaden. You all play at love, the truth will spill, and then we'll see how strong your little bubble is." As tension crackled in the air, Kaden gripped Nova's hand tighter, determined to shield her from the oncoming storm. "Together," he murmured softly, desperation and conviction mingling in his heart. "Together," she echoed, staring down the lingering threat of betrayal they faced. And as their lips met in a hurried, fervent kiss, time stood still, buzzing with unvoiced promises. It was a moment filled with bravery against the tide of darkness, a reminder that their love could conquer the secrets and storms that loomed ahead. But even as they kissed, a shadow danced at the edges of their bliss, whispers of old enemies thrumming with menace, stitching fear into the fabric of the evening. Scene 88, Bonded by Love. The sun dipped low, casting a golden haze through the high windows of Caden's office. Sunlight danced across the polished mahogany desk, illuminating stacks of papers that held the weight of intertwined businesses and burdens. Kaden Onyx stood at the grid of his organized chaos, rubbing his temples. He looked put together, a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, but his expression betrayed a battle against inner turmoil. Across the room, Nova Leclair leaned against the doorway, arms crossed as she watched him. The muscles of her jaw clenched slightly, hair cascading in soft curls, framing a face that was both vibrant and weary. She felt the tension in the air, a palpable energy that mirrored the unspoken words hung between them like a heavy curtain. "Have you considered the ramifications of our plan?" she asked, her voice steady yet laced with an urgency. Kaden looked up, his gaze penetrating. "Every second of every day, Nova. But it's not just about us anymore." He gestured around the room, his frustration evident. "The syndicate isn't going to dissolve because we're having an existential crisis." Nova straightened, stepping into the warm light. "No, but plunging into the dark waters without a lifeline feels reckless. You know what's at stake." A tight silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant sound of traffic. Kaden glanced at a framed photograph on his desk, a smiling child with wild curls. The sight twisted something deep inside him. It was a reminder of his past that he had carefully boxed away. "Do we even know how deep the rabbit hole goes?" he finally said, leaning back into his chair, trying to mask the emotion threading through his voice. "We're fighting against shadows, Nova." Her eyes sparkled with determination, though underlined with the flicker of vulnerability. "Sometimes, the shadows reveal the truth more than the light ever could." The air shimmered with her conviction, sparking an electric connection that neither could ignore. Caden's jaw tightened, the weight of their circumstance cloaking him like a heavy blanket. "Your sister's connection to this syndicate complicates things." He paused, catching her gaze with intensity. "And my secret, your son." Nova cut in softly, the air growing thick with clarity. She stepped closer, their shared plight drawing them together like magnets. "We can handle it together." "Can we?" he challenged, the question a fragile thread between them. He felt his resolve falter, a longing surfacing beneath the calm facade. Nova had stepped into his chaotic world with a grace that unsettled him, and the deeper layers of what he had kept hidden were now drawing her in. The distance between them closed, both hesitant and electric. "If you keep me out, that's what will unravel us." Her voice lowered, rich and thick with suggestion, igniting an unspoken bond that coursed alongside their fears. She reached out, tentative fingers brushing against the back of his hand, where calloused skin met softness. Caden's heart raced as he entwined their fingers, the warmth igniting a rush of fierce protectiveness and simmering desire. "Trust is a fragile thing," he murmured, the weight of their circumstances pressing heavily on his chest. "I trust you," she said boldly, the conviction in her words spilling over. "But you need to trust me too. I won't be another part of your hidden world. I want to walk beside you, not behind." His expression softened, breath hitching painfully as he considered her. "And if that world breaks?" The question hung between them, charged and bare. "Then we find a way to build something better, brick by brick, even if it means tearing some of it down first." Her gaze locked onto his, unyielding and fiercely real. With hearts pounding like dual war drums, they stood on the precipice of everything that was and everything that could be. Caden's eyes darted to her lips, a simple movement, yet it felt monumental. Together? Always. The promise hung brightly in the air, fragile yet potent as shadows danced in the dimming light. As their fingers intertwined more purposefully, a flicker of laughter echoed from the hallway. Caden's friends emerged, the warmth of camaraderie spilling into the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. They had their own burdens, their own lives, interwoven in chaotic love and unbearable honesty. "Hey, lovebirds, are you in there plotting world domination or just planning your wedding?" shouted Ben, bursting through the door, his cheeky grin infectious. Kaden chuckled, and the tension shimmered into something lighter, his moment with Nova grounding itself amid the joy that seeped into the space over the shadows lurking at their door. "Plotting something?" Kaden replied, pulling Nova closer, sharing a secret smile that ignited sparks rather than divulging the chaos ahead. "But I'll save the wedding plans for later." And with the laughter bouncing off the walls, a bond forged from love and shared secrets began to solidify, unbroken and whole against whatever storm lay ahead. Scene 89, Fortress of Love. The amber light danced through the towering glass windows, casting playful shadows across the floor of the hidden sanctuary that Kaden and Nova had crafted. It had the fragrance of lavender and fresh paint, with every surface meticulously arranged to soothe and inspire, a far cry from the storm of chaos swirling just beyond its walls. Kaden stood by the fireplace, a hand rubbing his temples as the crackling flames painted the room with a pulsating warmth. His brow furrowed, each minute wrinkle mapping out the anxieties that had plagued him lately. He turned, his spine straightening as he caught a glimpse of Nova standing near the window, the day's light contouring her features with a halo-like glow. She was lost in thought, a quiet storm reflected in the depths of her golden brown eyes, eyes that reminded him of the world he wished to protect. Beautiful, isn't it? Nova's voice, soft yet resonant, pulled him from his reverie. The warmth in her tone broke the tension in the air, stirring something deep within him. Kaden took a step closer, a heartbeat tethered between them. It is. Almost feels surreal, like we're in a different world altogether. His voice held an edge of uncertainty, betraying the impenetrable facade he usually wore. She turned to face him, the shimmers in her eyes intensifying. That's the point, isn't it? To carve out a piece of heaven amidst all the chaos? She tilted her head, a mischievous smile teasing the corners of her lips. Seems like bravery comes at a cost. Kaden replied, his jaw clenched. Are we ready to pay it? The weight of his own unacknowledged past loomed over them, a specter whispering doubts into the stillness. Her gaze darkened, the levity fading as reality crept in. What if we don't have to pay? What if this is our chance to rewrite the rules? There was a fire in her voice, a determination that flared to life in the intensity of their moment, coaxing out the unspoken truths. Kaden's heart raced. Every beat felt like an anchor. The way she shifted, how her fingers brushed the edge of the window frame, her body spoke volumes, carrying emotion beyond words. He stepped closer, drawn to her like a moth to light, caught in the orbit of her warmth. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang, slicing through the atmosphere like a sudden gust of wind. Their sanctuary cracked open to the outside world, and Kaden's instincts flared. I'll get it, he said, his throat suddenly dry, the need to shield her from any possible threat surging within him. As he reached for the door, Nova's laughter floated behind him, bright and inviting. I'll make us some drinks. Let's celebrate our fortress. The ease in her voice tightened his chest, caught between the desire for camaraderie and the suffocating tension of secrets. Kaden opened the door to find Caleb, his childhood friend, grinning widely. Hey man, I was in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by. You painting a masterpiece or what? His exhilarated tone filled the air, a stark contrast to Kaden's internal unrest. More like attempting to avoid disaster, Kaden replied wryly, stepping aside to let Caleb in. Perfect timing, too. Nova is mixing up something special. Is that so? Caleb's eyes twinkled as he moved into the room, his presence immediately lifting the atmosphere. You should see the way she moves with that paintbrush. It's like watching her weave magic. Nova emerged from the kitchen, holding a pitcher filled with vibrant red liquid. Are you talking about my drink or my painting skills? She quipped, her smile wide enough to light the dimmest corners of the room. Why not both? Caleb chimed, raising an eyebrow. You do seem to dazzle whenever you're in motion. Flattery will get you everywhere, she laughed, pouring drinks for them, mixing color and laughter seamlessly. Kaden, standing just outside this moment of ease, felt a pang of jealousy. He should be the one making her laugh, the one caressing that wisp of hair escaping her perfect bun. Shaking off the feeling, he stepped closer, sensing the buzz of chemistry in the room, aware that the walls they had built were being reinforced by the friendships they cultivated. Let's toast, Nova said, raising her glass high. To new beginnings. The clink of their glasses rang out like a promise, echoing in the corners of their hearts. As they sipped, a tension lingered just below the surface, a reminder of the secrets that flickered like the candle flames, each one hungry to be acknowledged. Kaden met Nova's gaze over the rim, a silent question passing between them, one they both danced around but never voiced. With laughter and camaraderie surrounding them, the sanctuary felt strong, Yet Caden's unvoiced truths loomed like shadows, threatening to unravel everything they were building. The question remained, could this fortress of love withstand the storms of their pasts? Scene 90. Emotional entanglements. The plush surroundings of Kaden Onyx's penthouse soared above the city, a vista of glittering lights that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat beneath them. Inside, a haze of lingering champagne and the faint strum of a string quartet set the mood for an unexpectedly intimate evening. Yet, shadowed by the flickering candlelight, Caden stood like a statue, rooted in uncertainty, his jaw clenching as he gazed out at the sprawling cityscape. The open floor plan blurred the line between luxury and vulnerability, and Nova Leclair dared to approach, drawn in by the gravity of his stillness. "You seem worlds away," she said, weaving her voice into the silence with intention. Caden turned, his expression softening momentarily as his gaze fell on her. "Not exactly what I expected tonight," he admitted, his tone heavy with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. Nova tilted her head, observing the slant of his shoulders, usually so expansive and confident, now burdened with an unseen truth. "What did you expect?" He hesitated, the words lingering like mist on his lips. "I thought tonight would be about celebration. Not this? This?" Nova echoed, her brow furrowing in curiosity as she stepped closer, the fabric of her deep emerald dress rustling softly around her. Anticipation crackled in the air, like the tension before a storm. Caden's eyes flickered with vulnerability, a furtive glance that searched for solace. "I've held on to secrets for too long, and I don't know how to let them go." His voice wavered, revealing the cracks in his ever-steady facade. Nova took a deep breath, her heart pounding in reaction to the weight of his admission. It was as if pieces of a narrative both familiar and foreign were unfurling between them. "You can't carry it alone," she said gently. He stepped closer, the air between them vibrating with an intimacy tinged with urgency. "What if it changes everything?" "Change is inevitable. You can either face it or let it consume you," she replied, voice steady. The empathy in her expression solidified the space they occupied, bridging the gap between them. Caden's fingers unclenched slightly at his side, an invitation to trust that lingered like a whisper in the crackle of the dimly lit room. "Sometimes I think about how much of myself I've hidden, how I've hidden my son from the world. It's not just guilt, it's fear." "Fear of losing control?" Nova questioned, her eyes searching his. He nodded, a quiet admission that resonated between them. "And fear of losing you. I don't want you to regret this path we're on." A flicker of unexpected laughter escaped Nova. "Regret? Caden? You're talking about my twin's chaos. I've decided to embrace this wild ride." His lips twitched in the ghost of a smile, their connection shifting like the tide. Nova reached out, her fingers brushing against the back of his hand. A tingle sparked, sending ripples through both their hearts. "You deserve to break free of your past. It's part of the beauty of us." His breath hitched, eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made the space around them vibrate. "Us? You believe there's an us?" "Of course. But life is messy," she insisted, her voice lowering, inviting him to step deeper with her. "You can't keep me at arm's length forever. I won't let you." Caden's expression hardened for a fleeting moment, but within the depths of his gaze, perilous emotions swirled. "But my secrets, they could destroy that." "Then let me in. Let's face the chaos together." She stepped even closer, her breath warm against the cool night air, her heart beating in rhythm with his unspoken fears. He hesitated, a battle raging within him, cords of tension pulling at the edges of their connection. But finally he exhaled, the storm within calming as he took her hand, anchoring their futures together. "Okay, together," he said softly. Just then, a loud crash erupted from downstairs, shattering the fragile moment. The ensuing chaos rippled through their sanctuary, drawing them back into reality as they shared a look of determination and resolve. "Together," Caden said again, but this time, the urgency was laced with a call to arms. With newfound resolve, their pasts momentarily forgotten, they raced toward the chaos outside, hand in hand, ready to face whatever awaited them. Scene 91, promises held. The candelabras flickered with a warm golden glow, illuminating the gathered crowd at the grand gala, yet the whispers around them faded into an indistinct hum. Kaden Onyx stood slightly apart, his eyes focused on Nova Leclair, who was half-shadowed beneath the ornate archway. The air crackled with palpable tension, the delicate scent of jasmine mingling with damp earth, an odd juxtaposition that stirred a tightness in Caden's chest. Are we really going to pretend that this is simple? Nova asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the words heavy with apprehension. Kaden clenched his jaw, the muscles tensing as he paced a small circle. His gaze darted to the cluster of elegantly dressed revelers nearby, then back to Nova, who stood resolute yet vulnerable, her striking espresso skin gleaming under the soft light. "It'll never be simple with everything at stake," he replied, his tone sharp but softened with an undercurrent of longing. She stepped closer, the sound of her heels contrasting against the grating church-like silence that enveloped them both. "Do you think I want this? Living in a shadow, pretending to be someone I'm not, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop?" Caden's breath caught, the weight of her words striking him like a physical blow. They were intertwined in a delicate dance, both caught between their truths and the chaotic masquerade swirling around them. "This isn't just about you, Nova. There's more at risk than either of us can afford to lose," he said, adding a sense of urgency as he met her gaze, his expression fierce yet filled with tenderness. "I don't care about the risks anymore. I care about you," she insisted, a flash of fire igniting in her hazel eyes, their depths reflecting the turmoil inside. "You think I can just walk away? Go back to my old life while I watch you fight demons alone?" The night air felt charged, electric with unsaid promises and hidden fears. Kaden reached out, fingers brushing against her arm, the sensation melting the distance between them. "And what if those demons come for you too?" he cautioned, his voice low. The intimacy of the moment deepened as their bodies perked closer, the intoxicating scent of her vanilla perfume wafting between them. "I'm not afraid of danger," Nova declared, her chest rising and falling quickly, excitement rushing through her veins. "I'd face it all for you. Just tell me we'll get through this together." He stepped closer, their bodies nearly aligned, a storm brewing in the depths of his dark eyes. "If I promise to keep you safe, I put you in danger," he murmured, the fire between them igniting into a roaring flame. "I won't lose you, Nova." Laughter erupted nearby as a group of guests stumbled onto the terrace, the cacophony of their gaiety jarring in the solemnity of their moment. Kaden instinctively pulled Nova back, his instincts sharp, eyes scanning the horizon of the gala. "What if?" "Stop thinking about what could go wrong," she interjected, placing a hand firmly on his chest, warmth radiating from her palm. "Instead, think about what could go right. Let's turn this madness into something beautiful. Just be with me." He hesitated, a mixture of admiration and despair shadowing his features. She exuded a strength he wished he had, anchored by her unwavering resolve. "I don't want to burden you with my past, my choices. They could shatter anything we could ever build." In that moment, she stepped even closer, her breath mingling with his, a sweet exchange of hope and desperation. "Kaden, you're not a burden. The only thing weighing on us is this damn secrecy. Together, we can decide who we want to be, beyond all this chaos." "Together," he echoed, the word dropping like a stone in quiet water, sending ripples through their shared reality. "But those promises, you must know, keeping you safe may mean losing myself." "Then don't," she half challenged, half pleaded. Their hearts raced, caught in a fervent grasp of the moment, where time seemed meaningless as they pondered a future thick with possibilities. As the laughter outside faded again, leaving a ghost of silence around them, Kaden allowed himself to take a step closer, catching Nova's entranced gaze. "All right," he finally said, a sense of quiet determination threading through his voice. "I promise to find a way to keep us safe, if you promise to fight alongside me." "Always," she whispered, and in that fragile word, a promise was sealed in the unguarded depths of their hearts. Scene 92. The Union of Hearts. The air within the grand ballroom of the Arkwright estate hung thick with the scent of polished oak and the sweet undertones of one too many spritzers. The chandeliers sparkled above, casting prisms of light that seemed to shimmer at the edges of reality itself. In an unlit corner, Kaden Onyx stood, lost momentarily in the bustle, his dark features shadowed yet striking against the gilded backdrop. He absently adjusted the cuff of his tailored jacket, a subtle gesture that belied the storm of emotions swirling just beneath his calm facade. Across the room, Nova Leclair's laughter rippled through the crowd, bright and lively, as she flirted with a gathering of admirers, her twin sister's identity inching closer to the surface with every shared glance. Caden's heart pounded fiercely at the sight. Jealousy coiled within him, burning and demanding, while a finely tuned instinct warned him to keep her at arm's length. Suddenly, the laughter erupted into muffled whispers and pointed fingers. Nova caught Caden's gaze, the spark of recognition igniting between them like an electric current. She sidestepped toward him, weaving through the group, her smile faltering as the reality of their unspoken words wrapped around them. "I need to talk to you," she said, an edge to her voice that cut through the celebratory ambiance. Caden leaned against the wall, folding his arms in a protective gesture. "Here? Now?" His tone was curt, dripping with tension simmering just below the surface. "Don't you dare dismiss me." Nova stepped closer, the intoxicating floral notes of her perfume mingling with the crispness of the evening air wafting through the open balcony doors. Her eyes flared with an intensity he both admired and feared. "You can't ignore what's happening. Not anymore." "Maybe I wouldn't have to if you hadn't taken this farce of a masquerade so lightly." Caden shot back, his brows knitted together, yet the allure of her presence wove threads of hurt into his annoyance. A cacophony of laughter from a nearby table punctuated the silence that followed, the laughter echoing like a taunt. Nova's breath caught. She pressed her lips into a thin line, a reflection of hesitation and frustration. "You act like I chose this," she exclaimed, gesturing between them. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." "Pressure?" Caden echoed, incredulity lacing his words. "You're playing with the lives of several people, Nova. You act like it's a game." "It's not a game to me," she replied, voice rising, catching the attention of nearby guests. The tension became palpable, like charged air just before a summer storm. Caden could sense the gathering gaze of curious onlookers drowning out their private storm. "Then stop acting like it is." Caden's voice dropped, but the intensity remained. He felt himself drawing her in, the emotional latitude of their fight spiraling downward. "You're risking everything." "Oh, please, Caden, you're the last person who should lecture me on risking lives." Nova spat, a torrent of years coiling around them, inevitable and sharp. Eyes narrowing, she demanded, "You think I don't know about your past, the son you left behind? Or are you too busy hiding behind your pain to be honest with me?" A thick silence enveloped them, heavy as a freshly spun web, suffocating in its complexity. Caden's jaw clenched. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snapped, the delicate thread of emotion taut, straining beneath the weight of unuttered fears. "And you're pretending that this isn't tearing us apart," Nova responded, her next words a whisper, yet they cut through the tension like a knife. "We could be stronger if you'd let me in." Their gaze locked, an unscripted reverie caught between the chaos. Caden took a ragged breath, feeling the truth of her words, the entry point of a chasm that threatened to swallow them whole if they weren't careful. Can you hear me?" he murmured, the edges of his resolve crumbling. Silence hung between them again, heavy and expectant, until Caden stepped closer, his voice low. "I'm trying to protect you. I can't let anything happen to you, Nova. Not now." "What if I'm already in deeper than you realize?" she replied, her voice tempered with a blend of fear and fierce conviction. He reached out, his fingers brushing against hers, an electric jolt surging through the unexpected contact. "Then let's fight together." "You mean it?" She inhaled sharply, revealing a vulnerability that stripped away the bravado. "I do." The promise hung in the air, a sacred bond in the midst of their chaos. Through the barrage of emotions, they found a moment, an acknowledgement that their worlds had collided for a reason. With that understanding, even amid the turmoil, there emerged a whisper of hope anchored in the union of their hearts. Scene 93, Chains of the Past. The air inside the dimly lit study was thick with the scent of aged wood and leather-bound tomes, echoing with the whispers of long-buried secrets. Outside, a tempest raged, rain lashing against the tall windows like the frantic heartbeat of a storm, mirroring the turmoil within. Caden stood, his back to Nova, his fingers tracing the spines of books. "What do you really want, Nova? Do you want to break free, or are you trying to escape?" Nova tightened her grip on the back of the armchair, its upholstery cool against her palm. She took a shaky breath, her heart racing as she stepped closer, the chill of the raindrops tapping rhythmically on the window, underscoring the tension. I thought I knew, Kaden, but every time I think I've found my path, it feels like I'm diving deeper into someone else's life. He turned then, his eyes dark pools of intensity. And whose life are you living, Nova? Your sister's? Or mine? The storm raged louder, a rumble of thunder punctuating the air, filling the silence that stretched between them. I've made mistakes. Her voice trembled, cracking open the facade she portrayed to the world. But I wanted to see the world, to feel something real. She stepped forward, emboldened by her honesty. With you, I felt I could touch that reality. Caden's expression softened, his guard faltering for just a moment. And what if that reality is painful? She took another tentative step, barely breathing as she closed the distance. Then let's feel it together. Nova reached out, her hand brushing against Caden's cheek, the warmth of his skin igniting something deep within her. The clouds rolled overhead, casting dark shadows against the light that flickered from the fireplace, creating a dance of light and dark that echoed the gamble of their confrontation. In that breathless moment, she saw not just the walls he had built, but the man beneath them, the protector, the friend, the keeper of secrets. His gaze fell to her lips, and for a heartbeat, the world outside faded to nothing. The thunderstorm pounded in the distance, mimicking the thunder of her own heart. "Is that what you want?" he murmured, voice low, dangerously close to breaking. "Something real, something messy?" "Yes," she breathed, impossibly drawn toward him. "I want the truth. I want you." The moment hung between them like a fragile thread, stretching taut until with the force of a clenched fist, Kaden stepped forward. He cupped her face in his hands, thumbs brushing softly against her jawline, a touch both tender and electric. She leaned into his warmth, her heart thundering in tandem with the storm outside. "Then let's break these chains," he whispered, his breath mingling with hers, creating an invisible bridge that connected their souls. The kiss ignited like a wildfire, both fervent and tentative, a collision of past hurts and unspoken promises. Caden's lips were firm yet inviting, coaxing her into a dance of exploration. She melted against him, fingers weaving into his hair, as the taste of him, warm and sweet, filled her senses. Her world spun wildly as warmth flooded her entire being, feathers awakening a yearning she had ignored for far too long. The storm outside crashed violently against the windows, and inside time slipped away as they tangled closer, each kissing breath drawing them further into an abyss of sensuality and longing. Every brush of skin felt like a revelation, each inhalation heavy with the desperate need to connect and understand one another's pain. But as the kiss deepened, the shadows of their past began to whisper warnings, echoing in the corners of their minds. Kaden pulled back slightly, breathless, his gaze piercing into hers. "We can't ignore what's waiting for us out there." With a shaky exhale, Nova rested her forehead against his. Her heart conflicted. "I know." Each word felt like a delicate tether linking their hearts, a reminder that the road ahead was fraught with danger and decisions they couldn't take lightly. As the storm roared once more, they stood entwined, two souls caught amid the chaos of their choices, their futures hanging on the edge of a kiss. Scene 94, the night of reckoning. The ballroom shimmered with flickering candlelight, the air thick with anticipation. Gilded mirrors reflected the laughter and chatter of the elite gathered, oblivious to the storm rapidly brewing beneath the surface. Kaden Onyx stood by the grand staircase, his posture rigid, but his gaze searching. The weight of the secret in his chest felt heavier than the embroidered jacket he wore. It was almost suffocating. The room radiated opulence, yet chaos was palpably close, like a maelstrom ready to burst from its confines. His eyes drifted anxiously towards the entrance, his heart racing as he thought of Nova Leclair. She was his tether, his refuge amidst the impending turmoil. But tonight, as she prepared to fill up her twin sister's shoes, Kaden was acutely aware of the fragile web they were weaving. Something palpable snagged in the air, something dark. Last week had been their shared laughter over pints and secrets, and now it felt like they were moving chess pieces on a board where the stakes were life and death. As if summoned by his thoughts, Nova appeared, clad in a sapphire gown that hugged her form with elegant precision, the fabric shimmering in the candlelight, like a night sky splattered with distant stars. She entered with a confidence only sparingly matched by self-doubt. The gown fluttered as she walked, flowing gracefully, yet Kaden could see the tension in her clenched hands where she still adjusted the collar. Gorgeous, isn't she? Camille, Caden's cousin, leaned closer with a teasing smirk, her curly hair bobbing with a slight bounce. Let's see if she can keep up the facade. Don't cheer too loudly, he cautioned, his eyes still trained on Nova, aware that their world was teetering. This is serious. I know, Camille said, her tone shifting slightly, seriousness underlying her lightness. But drama makes the night interesting, no? Across the room, the tone shifted as a sudden hush fell, tension coiling around them like an invisible serpent. A figure entered Harrison, the head of the syndicate, his presence like a shadow lengthening over their gathering. Caden's breath caught, his instincts on high alert. He turned to Camille. We need to keep her safe. The air between them felt electric as he locked eyes with Nova. She held his gaze, the weight of unspoken words swirling around them. Her expression wavered between determination and uncertainty, but in that moment, they both understood. There was no turning back. Stay close, he instructed. Nova gave a barely perceptible nod, her resolve hardening. Together, they descended the stairs, weaving through the crowd, hearts synced to a rhythm steeped in urgency. As they approached, their laughter, a sudden burst of giggles from two nearby guests, clashed against the ominous undertone creeping in. Caden's posture shifted protectively when he noticed how Harrison's eyes swept the room, calculating. Sisters are good at playing parts, Harrison called mockingly. Don't you agree, Miss Leclair? His gaze shifted, hungry, like a predator spotting prey. Kaden bristled, every instinct screaming before he even processed his body's reaction. Just then, a waitress stumbled, drinks cascading to the floor in a hapless display, creating a distraction. Careful, Nova exclaimed, her voice carrying through the bustling chaos. Her urgent tone cut the tension between them like a knife, and for a fleeting moment, they were still in their own world, surrounded only by the nerves pulsating between them. But Harrison's gaze shifted, narrowing on Kaden with an intensity that ignited tension. I firmly believe in the truth of things, don't you, Kaden? Before Kaden could respond, a sudden clash erupted from the far corner of the room, a scuffle, a raucous fight erupting between two guests who had clearly had too much to drink. The sound pierced through the veneer of civility, causing heads to turn, and Kaden felt adrenaline rush as the atmosphere frayed. Go, Kaden urged, turning to Nova, urgency implicit in his tone as he shoved her slightly back. Head to the back, now! No, we can't leave you, she insisted, desperation in her eyes. I'll draw him out, he pressed, his voice deadly serious. With that, Kaden stepped closer to Harrison, ready to confront the looming threat. But the look shared between him and Nova told a different story, a silent dial of heartbeats, setting the tone for everything to come. Kaden felt a fleeting warmth in Nova's gaze, a determined fire sparking as she grasped his arm tightly. They would face this together, against overwhelming odds, and perhaps, in the chaos, they would find their salvation. Scene 95, Showdown at Dawn. The early light danced over the sprawling estate, casting long shadows across the dew-kissed grass. The aroma of fresh coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint scent of blooming roses. It was a morning like any other, but the air was thick with anticipation. Nova Leclair stood at the ornate kitchen window, a freshly brewed mug trembling slightly in her hands. As Kaden Onyx entered, the kitchen held a palpable tension, the kind that stretches the heartstrings. He paused, catching her eye for a brief moment, a nonverbal exchange that spoke volumes. We need to talk, he said, his voice steady yet laced with an underlying urgency. About the gala? Nova replied, raising an eyebrow. Her pulse quickened, though she didn't let it show. No. Kaden leaned against the granite countertop, arms crossed, muscles taut beneath his fitted shirt, evidence of countless hours spent training in preparation for the showdown that loomed. About us. The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, each inhalation filled with unvoiced confessions and fears. She swallowed hard, attempting to steady the anxious flutter in her chest. There's no us if we don't make it through the day. The silence enveloped them, broken only by the gentle clink of porcelain as Kaden stepped closer, his eyes searching her face. She glanced down at her cup, feeling the heat radiating through her fingertips. If I don't make it out, she continued, voice barely above a whisper, the truth, I haven't been honest with you. What truth? His brow furrowed in concern, yet his presence remained an unwavering anchor. Before she could respond, the distant sound of shouting and vehicle engines erupted outside, shattering the tranquility. Her heart raced as she recalled the implications of the gala friends disguised as enemies, family entangled in deception, and Kaden's hidden ties to the darkness enveloping them. Stay here, Kaden commanded, his tone shifting to one of intensity etched with care. No, I'm done hiding. I want to fight beside you, Nova protested, the coffee forgotten like her fears. We have to be careful. His voice dropped, now a fierce whisper, their closeness igniting a charge between them. I can't be careful. She took a step closer, their breaths mingling, a blend of hope and dread. Not anymore. You've kept secrets, Kaden, and so have I. It's time to face them. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she recalled her twin sister's fate, the path they had woven into a tapestry of lies. Caden's gaze softened, but the weight of his secrets loomed large. What if it changes everything? He murmured, their faces inches apart, the morning sunlight igniting a spark of electricity in the air. Then let it change everything. Nova's heart pounded in her ears, and she could feel the apprehension melting into resolve. I don't want to live behind walls anymore. In that heartbeat, Kaden reached for her, his fingers brushing against her forearm, grounding her.